You're watching Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. 49ers host Chase Sr. He told me today, he said, Tyler, there's no way you guys could get 800 likes on today's video. And I told him, Chase, you're ridiculous. We can easily get 800 likes on today's video. This is coming from a Niners fan whose team didn't even come close to making the playoffs this year. At least the Seahawks came close, right? The battles wage on, whether it's in the season or in the offseason. We want to show who's boss. Prove him wrong, 12s. Like the video. We'll get started with today's show. Welcome in. We have some good news and we have some bad news to get to here on this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, after the Seahawks hired Clint Kubiak as the new offensive coordinator. Do you want to start with the good news or do you want to start with the bad news? Tell you what, I'll make the decision for you. Let's start with the good news. Clint Kubiak, I believe, is the right man to solve the Seahawks red zone crisis. Look, there's a lot of problems going on in the world right now, and one of the issues that's plaguing the great city of Seattle is how in the hell do they fix the red zone problems that have plagued this Seahawks team in 2024? Well, they may have found the right man for this when it comes to Clint Kubiak. Let me explain more. The Seahawks this past season ranked 14th in the NFL in red zone scoring touchdown percentage, 57.14%. But that doesn't necessarily tell the full story. When you think about the turnover issues, more of that in just a bit. Also, the opening drives of games. Not one time did the Ryan Grubb-led Seahawks offense have an opening drive touchdown this year. There was a lot of issues there when it came to capitalizing in the red zone in those opportunities. Well, then you turn your attention to Clint Kubiak, who comes over from the New Orleans Saints. And let's be real with y'all. The New Orleans Saints were a mess this year. And there were a lot of things that were out of Clint Kubiak's control when it came to this Saints team, as they were dealing with all sorts of injuries. He had an incompetent coaching staff around him. He had to deal with the biggest fraud quarterback in the NFL, Derek Carr. And then Derek Carr gets hurt, and they had to go to Spencer Rattler, and it was just a mess. Even despite all that, their red zone scoring touchdown percentage was still higher than the Seattle Seahawks at 58.14%, 11th best in the NFL. They were still 11th best with all the issues that faced that Saints team. And then you knew this was coming. Geno led the NFL in red zone interceptions. I will say, it wasn't always his fault. We're not necessarily putting all the blame on Geno, but that's part of why Clint Kubiak's coming in, is to help Geno out, and also the other guys that were a part of the problem of these red zone issues and mistakes that were made. The Saints offense was above the NFL average in designed rush rate, and they put the quarterback under center at the 5th highest rate of any team in the National Football League this past season. And so what that tells me is that this offense is going to be more of a traditional pro-style offense as opposed to the air raid scheme that was run under Ryan Grubb. And with that, with the emphasis of running the football and putting Geno under center, that, in theory, should take less pressure off of Geno Smith, where he would be less prone, in theory, to making those same red zone mistakes. Lining up under center more and being more physical and running the football and turning over the ball less is a recipe for red zone success for Seattle here. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Sounds great to me. And I know there's going to be some doubters when it comes to Clint Kubiak, but that alone, I think, is a step in the right direction there. So that's some very good news for Seahawk fans there. Let's ask you, our pinned comment today, was Clint Kubiak the right hire for the Seattle Seahawks? Weigh in, let us know. Type Y for yes, in for no. Chime in on our pinned comment today. Let us know what you think. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for the best seats, the lowest prices guaranteed. Whether you're looking for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more, Game Time has got you covered, including tickets for the NFL playoffs. The big game is coming up here pretty soon. I've had some great memories taking my dad to an NFL playoff game, and you can make memories that last a lifetime. And whether you're looking for tickets in the Seattle area, maybe you want to go see the Kraken play, maybe you want to go see the Washington Huskies, or head down the road, go see Washington State or Gonzaga, whatever it may be. They got tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, comedy shows, and more. You choose the event you want to go to. They got the prices listed. You choose your seat, see if you like that seat or not, and then boom, just like that, you're checking out on Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, all major credit card providers. And get this, folks. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals and great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. They have their super deals. If you see a super deal, that's the deal you don't want to pass up on. They have their Customize Your Spot feature where you can find the best spot for you, and they also have their seat views so you can get the visual, see what that seat is like. They also offer the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Game Time, proud partner of Seattle Seahawks today. Now the bad news. Our old friend Pete Carroll, the new head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. We're excited for Pete to get this opportunity with Vegas to return to the National Football League. But it might be coming at a cost, as Pete is already looking at stealing some of the Seahawks coaching staff, including Seahawks defensive assistant Carl Scott for a position with Las Vegas. Jonathan Jones of CBS posting the following on X. One name to keep an eye on for Pete Carroll's Las Vegas staff is Carl Scott, Seattle's defensive passing game coordinator. Scott worked for Nick Saban before joining Carroll in 2021, a potential DC target for the Raiders. And then that was followed up later by Jonathan Jones saying the Raiders have now requested permission from the Seahawks to interview Carl Scott, sources tell the NFL on CBS. I'll say this. It's good for Carl Scott. I'm glad to see him get recognized and him to potentially get a good opportunity. If he gets that job or if he leaves for a defensive coordinator job, whatever it may be, good for Carl Scott. But this is bad for Seattle here to potentially be losing a guy of the caliber of Carl Scott who's done a very good job. Think about this. Mike Macdonald, when he came in and took over, he cleaned house except for one individual. And that individual was none other than Carl Scott. He was the only assistant retained by Mike Macdonald on the 2024 coaching staff. And get this, because Carl Scott's position is DB's coach and passing game coordinator, that is not viewed in league circles to being the same level as a defensive coordinator. So the fact that he's interviewing for the defensive coordinator spot, the non-compete clause in his contract does not apply. Seattle cannot block the hire of Carl Scott. If he is to get the defensive coordinator position there with the Las Vegas Raiders, there is nothing that Seattle can do about it to prevent him from taking that opportunity if it is given to him. He's been Seattle's DB's coach and passing game coordinator since 2022. Prior to that, he was the DB's coach for the Minnesota Vikings. He spent 10 seasons in college football in the FBS ranks as a defensive assistant. So he's been waiting for this opportunity to move up through the coaching ranks and potentially get his shot to prove his worth. And for those that may not know Carl Scott and what exactly he's brought to this Seahawks team, think about the development of Devin Witherspoon and Rick Woolen. I know Rick's got a lot of haters out there these days, But we do have to keep in mind he was a fifth-round pick. And look at him now. He still has come a long way from what was projected to be as a former fifth-round pick. And Devin Witherspoon's coming off back-to-back Pro Bowl appearances. And then you think about the other guys. Julian Love has been a solid starter for Seattle the last couple of seasons. He was a Pro Bowler last year. Kobe Bryant took a huge step in the right direction as well. You look at Jones and some of these others here. I mean, I'll say this. Like, he has gotten the most out of these guys of what he's had to work with. This would be a big loss for Seattle if they were to lose Carl Scott. Not saying that it's impossible to replace him, but it would be hard to find somebody out there that's as good as Carl Scott with the job that he's done. And I hope that he stays. Selfishly speaking, I think Seahawk fans feel the same way. We would love to see Carl Scott stick around, but nobody's going to blame him whatsoever if he jumps on this opportunity and goes to the Las Vegas Raiders and gets the chance to be a defensive coordinator, because all signs point to the Seahawks aren't changing the defensive staff, that AD is not going to lose his job, and he's also not getting hired away elsewhere, that if Carl Scott comes back, he would hold the same position he holds now. Are you worried about Carl Scott leaving Seattle? If you are, type W for worried. If you really just don't care, if you're saying to yourself, well, he's a position coach, then type D for don't care. Weigh in, let us know. Type W for worried, D for don't care. Chime in the comment section below. For continuing Seahawks coverage, subscribe now to Seattle Seahawks Today for the latest happenings on your favorite team all off season long. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.